Hey everyone, this is Uri Peleg and this is part 2 of my Donk-betting video series. Now in part 1, we went over what to do against two different player types who are donk-betting against you. If someone straightforward donk-bets, the way you win money is by not putting a lot of money and when he donk-bets, but when he checks, attacking him mercilessly. If someone who's more bluffy and aggressive donk-bets into you, the way you win money is by having a hand and not folding and, you know, picking up all the money he's throwing your way. But what do you do when you're facing someone who's more dangerous and more unpredictable? That's going to be the subject of this video. What do you do when you don't know anything about your opponent or his tendencies and he just donk-bets into you?
Hot. All in.
Call.
4.
You have a 4?
Of course.
You have a 4?
I have a 4. I'm the best. What do you think I play with? Give me the money. Bring him $1 million.
In order to understand what's going on, I'm going to let you guys look with me at a PO solver sim and we'll ask the solver, would you donk bet in this situation? So for solver sims, you always have to input ranges. I put kind of a GTO range for Jungle Man, and we'll call it I want to be the boss of the table range for Tony, who's playing a bit wider than he should. Something like this. And when you look at the results, we can see very clearly that there is just literally no donk betting. Solver doesn't like to do it with any hand. And if we look at the strategy comparison with Tony's size, for example, we can see that every single hand in the range has a higher EV checking than it does betting. So there exists a strategy that the solvers found that makes it just bad for the other guy to donk bet. So how is this possible? Surely either donking a good hand should work or donking a bluff should work. How can they both not work? The answer to that question lies in understanding that it's not about preventing the donk bet from making money. It's fine that the donk bet makes money, especially if he has trips. How can you stop him from making money? What you need to make sure is that donk betting is worse than his alternative option, which is checking. And once we realize this is what we're looking for, we can quickly see in PO Solver that when someone donk bets like Tony G did, the reaction is to just play more or less as though the guy had c-bet into you. So now we're calling pairs, we're calling over cards with a backdoor flush draw, calling good ace highs, mixing in some bluff raises and some value raises. And you know, just playing our range reasonably, not doing anything special, but definitely not giving up. And playing your range in this way will prevent the other guy from making money by donk bet bluffing, which, you know, alternatively he could have checked. Sometimes you check back, he gets to realize equity, so definitely if you're defending appropriately, donk bet bluffing is going to lose him money. What about donk betting for value? All we need to make sure is that when the guy checks, we are betting aggressively. So when he donk bets, we react aggressively. We call a lot, we raise a bit. When he checks, we're gonna put in a bet at a high frequency, and he would have gotten to check raise us and get even more money had he checked his good hands. So by making sure that we're doing these two actually fairly simple things. So when the guy donk bets, you treat it as a c-bet. When the guy checks, you just c-bet a lot. So these are, you know, not very complicated things to do. You've taken care of everything. The guy is now losing money donk betting, and we're happy about this situation. Now, I want to finish off by saying that in my eyes, that's not all there is to it. We could stop here and say, you know, donk betting is bad. We now understand what to do, and hopefully you guys do understand what to do when someone donk bets against you. But if we go back and we compare the EV between, for example, donk betting small and checking. Here the pot is 54, and we can see that there are a lot of hands where the EV difference relative to the pot size is not that large. So donk betting is worse EV against a perfect opponent, but it's not a large mistake. And when you donk bet, you certainly put the other guy off balance. He doesn't know exactly what he's doing. Not everyone has experience in these situations. And I would go so far as to say I don't think it's bad to donk bet. There are some situations where it can be really good. And if you look at Tony G, for example, Tony G has the image of an aggressive player, but he's donk betting good hands. So he's kind of reversing things, and this can easily trip you up if you're not into like playing every hand exactly like a solver, but you think you have an edge against Tony because he's aggressive and he's donk betting, so you start playing back at him too much. No, there are ways to use image and donk betting together to create favorable situations, and even though it's theoretically wrong, a lot of my approach is saying I don't care that something is theoretically wrong against a perfect opponent. I want to see what mistakes it can induce from people and how to use it to my advantage. I'll show you guys some examples of this in the next video. See you then.